We're back, and together Washington power lawyers David Boies and Ted Olson won a crucial case in the fight for marriage equality, teaming up to overturn Prop 8, a California ballot measure passed in 2008 to ban same-sex marriage in that state. But Boies and Olson were unlikely allies. 14 years ago, they were on opposite sides of the most politicized Supreme Court case in recent American history, Bush v. Gore. Boies, a Democrat, represented Al Gore, and Olson, a Republican, represented the victorious George W. Bush. But in 2009, the former adversaries found a common cause in the fight for marriage equality. And as we've seen, it's a cause that's made great progress over the last 10 years in the United States. Today, a total of 19 states allow same-sex marriage. In 23 states, bans on same-sex marriage are being challenged, and 8 states have had their bans on same-sex marriage ruled unconstitutional or are on hold pending appeal. Now David Boies and Ted Olson have teamed up once again to tell the story of their landmark victory in a new book, Redeeming the Dream, the case for marriage equality, and also in a documentary film that's on tonight on HBO, The Case Against 8, which debuts, as I said, tonight. Here's a clip from the doc.
When we announced the case, one of the people at the press conference stood up and said, "How can we trust what you're doing if you're doing it with Ted Olson?"
There was a reaction among conservatives that I was somehow a traitor to conservative beliefs.
It really is a betrayal of everything that Ted Olson has purported to stand for.
I don't know what's happened to Ted Olson. I have no clue. Ted Olson used to be one of us.
Why do you feel so many of your fellow conservatives are still on the other side of this issue?
Because I haven't had a chance to talk about it yet.
Joining me right now are attorneys David Boies and Ted Olson. Congratulations, gentlemen. You're my heroes, and I think you're heroes to the country. Why did you take on an issue which most people think is a liberal issue?
I grew up in California. I was stunned by what Californians did to their own citizens. It seemed inconsistent with the frontier state and all the diversity that exists in California and the tolerance that Californians have for persons of different views or persons of different races. It seemed to me wrong. When I was asked to do it, I thought there was something I could do about it.
The old line from Mr. Dooley was, the Supreme Court follows the election returns. Was the changing public opinion, which has gone from 27% for same-sex back in 96 to 55% today, an actual doubling of support for same-sex marriage, had something to do with how the courts have reacted?
I think it's part of the atmosphere that the courts operate in. I don't think the courts sort of follow the election polls, but I think what the courts do is they do consider the whole context when an issue comes in front of it, both in terms of how they decide, but even more important, when they decide.
I think the idea of marriage is such an interesting idea because marriage is part of our culture. Marriage is probably, it could be primordial for all we know. We mate, and we may mate for life. Who knows what the anthropology is. But gay marriage is something that was new to a lot of people, the very idea of it. What do you think broke through?
What broke through is
with people saying, because for a while there, the portrait of the gay community was bars, bathhouses, parades, gay pride parades. It didn't very make the case. But then it began to be couples. We began to see men and men, two men or two women, and you saw them happy together in a very familiar sort of coupling together that seemed like straight marriage. And people said, what's wrong with that?
It's very much like straight marriage. It is like straight marriage. It's the same thing. We say that there's a conservative case for gay marriage. People coming together to form an enduring relationship, to be a part of a community, to be a part of our economy. The plaintiffs in our case had been together for 10, 15, 16 years. 2 women and 2 men. 2 women and 2 men. And they'd been together for a long time. And when people see those relationships and when people see the joy of the 2 people finally being able to get together and being respected and being a part of the community like the rest of us look at that and say, gee, that's right. That's the way it ought to be. We should be for happiness and for love and for marriage.
It seems like the gay community, if you could generalize, has been so supportive of this legal effort that they have really, I don't know how to describe it, but the way maybe it's just the natural way that people look, but every time I see them coming out of church steps or coming out of City Hall, it's a happy, positive thing. And how could you have a problem with it? What was the argument against gay marriage? I remember in California, in your case, they tried to find somebody who had standing that could say, this is hurting straight marriage.
Right.
What was that argument?
Well, what they tried to do is they tried to say somehow this may have damaged straight marriage, because they had to find something wrong.
What was their molecule of thought there?
They didn't have any. In fact, their lawyer when the judge asked him, well, you say there's harm to straight marriage. What is that harm? And he danced around it, didn't answer. Finally, the judge got cross and said, come on, answer the question. And he paused and he said, I don't know. And that was the answer.
But the argument they would make on the right is it's a cultural problem, it's cosmic. People, and it's also the individual conservative guy, probably, not a woman, going to bed at night saying, God, there's gays getting married. It's really bothering. I can't sleep tonight.
But they're not going to get divorced over that.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people do you know
who
have a happy marriage who are going to get divorced because their gay neighbor can get married? That's not going to happen.
So nobody got divorced over this issue?
No, not over this issue.
Everywhere it's happened, it's been good for marriage.
Yeah.
You know, marriage improves because we have a relationship like that where we respect people and we respect the
I'm a big believer in books. Redeeming the Dream is the name of your book, and if people who are gay or straight who care about this country, I've always said we expand our democracy every couple of years, and this is one of the expansions. You know, we're making this country better. Thank you. Congratulations. You especially.
Thank you.
I could expect it of him. David Boies and Ted Olson. Actually, Ted Olson's a very good guy. We'll be right back after this.